Stop whatever you're doing and lean in, because this is not just some cute little celebrity breakup headline. This is the moment where the fairy tale brand cracks on paper in black and white, with Todd Tucker finally stepping out from Kandi Burruss' shadow and saying, "Nah, I've got something to say too." The cameras showed us the wedding. The blog showed us the smiles. But these court documents, baby, they're showing us strategy, positioning, warnings, and a man who is clearly done being the quiet one in the background. It all starts with what everybody already knows. Kandi Burruss filed for divorce. She went first. She's the petitioner. She stepped into that courthouse and basically told the state of Georgia, this marriage is done. It's broken. There is no fixing it. But tonight, we're not sitting in Kandi's petition. We're sitting inside Todd Tucker's answer and counterclaim, where he doesn't just respond. He flips the table and lays out exactly how he wants this breakup to go. From the very beginning of his response, Todd makes one thing crystal clear. He's not walking into this as some helpless, clueless husband. Todd Tucker has an attorney, and not just any attorney. He's rolling with Randy Kessler, a known heavyweight in Atlanta family law. So while people online were yelling, "He ain't got no lawyer," these documents literally start with, "Comes now Todd Tucker by and through his counsel, Randy M. Kessler." That means Todd is not playing freestyling games. He came lawyered up, organized, and ready to push back. Then he quietly pulls out the calendar and hits everyone with the first big bomb. The date, April 4th, 2014. The day they said, "I do." The day Kandi Burruss walked down the aisle. The day Bravo cameras ate it up. But according to this paperwork, that was also the exact same day Todd Tucker signed the prenuptial agreement. Not a week before. Not a month before. The day of minutes before the wedding energy, before the vows, before the big dream. The ink on that prenup dried right before the husband and wife moment, and that detail is not in here by accident, because then the documents take it further. Todd's side says that on that very day, Todd was presented with the prenuptial agreement without having counsel present. Over and over, the response repeats that Todd did not have an attorney with him at that moment. Now, is Randy Kessler saying Todd never had a lawyer involved at any point? No. In fact, he low-key admits the opposite. He says Kandi's lawyer knew Todd was represented by Randy, and had previously been communicating with him about a possible prenup. But when it came time for the final signature, when it mattered the most, Todd allegedly got the stack of papers put in front of him immediately before the ceremony. With no consultation, no phone call, no "let me loop your lawyer in." Right? There is where the tone shifts. Because this isn't just gossip anymore. This is Todd's legal team quietly planting a seed. They walked the court through how Kandi's counsel knew Todd had an attorney. New negotiations were happening, but still went straight to Todd Tucker with a final agreement in hand. Right before the wedding, allegedly without looping in Randy. And then they dropped the phrase that makes every attorney perk up. These circumstances raise substantial questions about the enforceability of the prenuptial agreement. Pause and think about that. For years, the fan conversation has been, well, Kandi protected herself. She had a prenup. Todd signed it. End of story. But Todd's team is now saying, sure, there's a prenup, but the way it was handled might be a problem. We're not saying we're attacking it today, but we're letting you know we could. That's not an accident. That's leverage. That is Randy Kessler tapping his finger on the table like, don't play too hard because this card exists. Then we move to the kids, and that's where you see what Todd Tucker really wants out of this mess. The documents say that the minor children, Ace and their daughter, are currently living with Todd in Georgia. Not with nannies. Not with a cousin. With him. And the reason the documents give is simple. Kandi Burruss is out-of-state work. Obligations have required her to be gone for months at a time and will continue to do so. In other words, while Kandi is out filming, performing, producing, and chasing that global bag, Todd is at home physically with the kids. So what does he ask the court for? Todd Tucker says he wants primary physical custody of the children. He also wants joint legal custody, meaning both parents. still have a say in big decisions, but he specifically requests final decision-making authority. And then, just when people would start screaming, he's trying to take the kids. His lawyer softens it. The documents explicitly acknowledge Kandi as a loving and capable mother and say, Todd wants her to have substantial and meaningful time with the children. The message is layered. I'm not saying she's a bad mom. I'm not trying to erase her. I'm saying I'm the one who's here on the ground every day. I'm the one at home when she's gone for months. So when it comes to medical emergencies, school decisions, day-to-day parenting, I need the court to recognize the reality, not the Instagram. From there, Todd's answer slides straight into the technical side and starts poking holes in Kandi's original petition. He claims that Kandi's divorce filing was procedurally deficient under Georgia law. He says she didn't verify her petition the way the statute requires. He says she didn't list his address or last known address. He points out that she supposedly didn't properly list the names and ages of their minor children. It's basically Randy Kessler stepping up and saying, your team didn't even fill this out, right? And that part is petty and powerful at the same time. Because when you're worth what Kandi Burruss is worth, people expect your legal team to be airtight. Todd's side using the actual law to point at missed details is their way of saying, you might be the bigger star, but we're paying attention to every line of this paperwork. Todd also reserves the right to challenge the sufficiency of her petition based on those deficiencies later. Translation. This is warning shot number 2. Then there's that phrase, bona fide state of separation. The documents say Kandi and Todd are in a bona fide state of separation. Now, a lot of folks hear that and think it means somebody packed bags and moved out. But Todd's response, and even the creator reading this, makes it clear, under Georgia law, that doesn't necessarily mean 2 separate addresses. It can mean the moment both parties knew the marriage was effectively done. Living under the same roof, but emotionally, romantically, spiritually over it. No more real marital relationship, just logistics and legal timelines catching up. By the time Todd gets to the children's residency history, you can see how careful and intentional his camp is being. The documents lay out that the kids have lived at the marital residence in Atlanta since birth. Todd says he hasn't been involved in any other custody litigation anywhere. He says he doesn't know of any other person trying to claim custody or visitation over the kids. It's all about painting him as stable, present, consistent, not some chaotic, sporadic father, but the default everyday parent, who is now asking the court to formally acknowledge what's already true in real life. And then he makes his next move. He asks the court to schedule these custody and parenting issues to be heard as soon as possible, either at the 30-day status conference in January 2026, or at a temporary hearing at the court's earliest convenience. Todd Tucker wants temporary custody solidified now, not later. Not when the blogs calm down. Not when the show edits their version. Right now. Because according to him, he already has the children. He's the one putting them to bed while Kandi is on a different time zone grinding. What you're watching in these documents is not just a breakup. It's a full chessboard. On one side is Kandi Burruss, global brand, generational money, the woman we've seen turn every opportunity into a business. On the other side is Todd Tucker, the man people love to underestimate as the one who married up. And in this counterclaim, Todd is saying, I might have married a millionaire, but I'm not walking away from this like I was just a guest in her life. I was a husband. I was a father. And I've got rights on the line too. So by the time you finish the first half of this story, here's what the court documents are silently screaming. Same-day prenup. No lawyer present in the moment. Possible weaknesses in the agreement. Father asking for primary physical custody. Calling out alleged flaws in Kandi's filing. And setting the stage for something bigger. It's calm on the surface, but underneath, you can feel it. Todd Tucker is building a case. And if they don't settle this privately, that prenup everybody thought was untouchable might turn into the messiest storyline you've ever seen. Now let's step into the second half of Todd Tucker's response, because this is where the tone slides from polite legal reply into full-on warning mode. If the first half was a quiet tap on the shoulder, this part is a hand on the table. Documents spread out and Todd saying, "If you want war, we can go there." Todd doubles down on what he wants with the children. He doesn't just ask for temporary custody. He asks for temporary and permanent legal custody with final decision-making authority and temporary and permanent primary physical custody of the kids. He ties it all to what Georgia law says about the best interest of the child, making it clear he's not just chasing control. He's framing it as stability, consistency, and practicality. In his mind, if Kandi Burruss is flying in and out, filming shows, touring, and stacking checks, while he's home day in and day out, then the court should recognize that and formalize it at the same time. He doesn't drag her as a mother. Over and over, the documents say he recognizes Kandi as a loving, capable parent. He doesn't accuse her of neglect, abuse, or danger. That's important. He's not trying to paint her as unfit. He's crafting a narrative where she's the superstar and he's the anchor, both important, but serving different roles in the kids. Everyday lives. Then Todd turns toward the money, the part everybody pretends they don't care about while secretly refreshing net worth pages at 3 a.m. somewhere in the video. The creator even looks up their estimated net worths. Online numbers say Kandi is sitting at around $30 million, while Todd's range bounces between a few $100,000 to a few million, depending on which site you believe. Whether those numbers are exact or not, the gap is obvious. And it's that gap that makes this whole thing explosive. In the counterclaim, Todd's side lays out that during the marriage, they acquired various assets, real property, personal property, tangible assets, and even assets Todd allegedly doesn't know about. That one line is pure shade. Assets known and unknown to the husband. It's Todd Tucker hinting that, in his view, there may be things Kandi Burruss bought, moved, or lined up that he wasn't fully in the loop on. And he's making sure the court hears that. Sentence out loud. He then asks for what the law calls an equitable division of marital assets. Not just what's in front of him. Not just what's obvious. All marital property, including the stuff that may not be immediately visible. At the same time, he wants his own separate, non-marital property protected, plus any appreciation in its value. In other words, whatever I came in with or earned on my own, don't touch it. But whatever we built together, I want my fair share. He also points out that the couple has accumulated marital debt during the marriage and asks that it be divided. The document doesn't scream 50-50th split outright, but it's clear Todd isn't trying to walk away holding all the bills while the public assumes Kandi took care of everything. He's asking the court to balance the scales, and this is where his lawyer pulls another legal card. He cites Georgia statutes that say once a divorce action has been filed, neither party should be transferring property around, making big changes in their estate, or playing funny games with their assets, except in the ordinary course of business or to pay real pre-existing debt. To break it down in plain language, Todd Tucker's team is basically telling Kandi Burruss on paper, don't move nothing. Don't hide nothing. Don't sell nothing off to keep it out of the equation. Because the law is watching and so are we. Then the tone sharpens even more. Todd's attorney serves Kandi with what's basically a preservation of evidence notice. It says she is required to protect and preserve any evidence relevant to this case. Financial records, bank statements, tax records, expense records, video, audio, messages, emails, electronic files, all of it. She's explicitly told not to destroy, conceal, or alter anything that could matter in this divorce. They even warn her that if she does, the court can hit her with sanctions, draw negative inferences against her at trial, and make her pay expenses and attorney's fees. That part feels less like divorce paperwork and more like someone saying, "Don't play with me. I've been keeping receipts too." Todd Tucker is not just asking for custody and assets. He's drawing a bright red circle around the idea of evidence. The subtext is loud. Something happened. Conversations happened, money moved, behavior was recorded. And he wants to make sure every piece of it can still be used if this battle ends up in front of a judge, despite all that toughness. The counterclaim keeps repeating one phrase over and over. Todd remains hopeful. Hopeful that the parties can resolve all issues privately. Hopeful that they can reach an agreement. Hopeful that mediation works. It almost reads like a warning wrapped in politeness. I don't want to burn this whole thing down, but if you push me, I'm not afraid to light the match. And then comes the line that makes everyone sit up in their chair. Todd requests all additional relief, including alimony and child support, in the event the prenuptial agreement is not enforced. That's the moment where all the prenup foreshadowing suddenly makes sense. Todd isn't just saying the prenup might be shaky. He's saying, if this prenup falls apart, I'm coming for full legal relief, including support. For years, people have joked that Todd married up, that Todd was living off Kandi, that Todd should be grateful she took him from production guy to husband. But the law does not care about fan jokes. The law cares about lifestyle, duration of marriage, earning disparity, kids, and what both people got used to over time. Todd can walk into court and say, I've been living at this level for 11 years. My whole life, my choices, even my career moves have been influenced by being married to Kandi Burruss and raising these kids with her. And once that argument hits a judge's desk, it doesn't sound like some greedy scheme. It sounds like exactly what countless ex-wives have successfully argued for decades. The creator even says it out loud. If this were reversed and Kandi was the one with less money and Todd was worth $30 million, nobody would blink if she asked for alimony. People would say, of course, she needs to maintain the lifestyle she had in the marriage. But the second a man might have that same legal right, folks run to the timeline like, he's trying to take her money. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because the documents force everybody to ask themselves, do you really care about fairness? Or do you just like the narrative where the rich woman always has to protect herself? By the time you reach the end of Todd Tucker's counterclaim, the picture is clear. He's asking the court to give him a total divorce from Kandi Burruss, acknowledge that the marriage is dead with no chance of reconciliation, award him legal and primary physical custody of the kids with decision-making power, divide the marital property fairly, give him his separate property back untouched, split the marital debt, and if that prenup doesn't stick, consider alimony and child support in his favor, all while leaving the door open to beef up his claims. Later, if talks fall apart, so what does it all really mean? It means this is not some simple we grew apart breakup. This is what happens when love, money, TV, business, kids, and power collide in one courtroom. This is what happens when someone you thought would quietly sign and walk away decides instead to pull every legal lever available to him, whether you're Team Kandi, Team Todd, or just Team Get Those Kids Some Peace. One thing is obvious. Their reality TV marriage has officially left the confessionals and entered the court record. The smiles, the Bravo edits, the jokes from Mama Joyce, all of that is background noise now. What matters from this point on is what a judge believes, what the law says, and how far each of them is willing to go to protect what they think they're owed. Because underneath the soft language and the I remain hopeful lines, Todd Tucker's counterclaim is saying one very loud, very clear thing. If we can't end this quietly, I am more than ready to end it legally. I am more than ready to end it legally.